Okay, I want you to play a little game with me. I want you to suspend your perhaps belief that menopause is a naturally occurring biological fact that happens for women. And I want to instead invite you into a conversation today where we're going to explore this. Because you see, menopause was discovered. It was discovered in the 1800s. But it wasn't just in women, it was in men too. So, what changed things? Now, is menopause a true biological response? Is it something that's simply been implanted into the collective consciousness? And once it's implanted, it gets self created by the humans? Okay, we got to talk about that. Or is it a result of high toxic load and just simply symptomatic of too many toxins in the body, which of course we know throws the entire hormone system out of balance? Welcome back to Awakening the Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Heather Christian Strang. This is the show where we help you, we support you in becoming your higher self, your goddess self in form on earth at this crazy, wild, momentous time. Since 2008, I have been serving thousands of women and their families and supporting them in having radiant health, radical abundance, and exquisite love. Of course, this all came about from my own spiritual awakening that started with, you guessed it, a health crisis that was not problem, reaction, solution, courtesy of the Matrix. And I had to go through a deep dive to discover the true nature of healing, and it was directly linked to my spiritual awakening. This spiritual awakening resulted in me having healing energy pouring out of my hands and sudden psychic abilities I did not have before. And of course, since that time, as I mentioned, I've been serving others. So it's really interesting. Spirituality and health are really deeply linked. Your body temple is actually a template for spiritual divine design. You can actually go deeper into your becoming, into your enlightenment, into your nirvana, into your bliss, into who you really are by going through the body. It is all in and through the body. If you'd like to connect more with me and my work, go to sacred-spirituality.org. We've got free meditations, transmissions, and more to assist you on your journey of becoming your higher self, or what I like to call your goddess self in form. Okay, so you know this, if you've been with us in the podcast, you know that when I see things trending in the mainstream, it catches my attention because I know there's the potential for some kind of psychological operation taking place on human consciousness. You see, you and I are divine creators, and it doesn't take more than just planting a thought or opening a thought into the collective consciousness for humans to start creating that reality for themselves. So when there are things like diagnostics and diagnosis given, sometimes that's all it takes is telling a human they have a thing, this is what the thing looks like, this is how it's going to respond, this is what it means for them. And literally, once that gets implanted into the human consciousness, if the human is not empowered and connected to their own higher wisdom and their own higher self, who would say that is not true at all. I've been working with thousands of bodies. Never once has a body been like, oh yeah, I have this disease. Oh yeah, I'm in menopause. Oh yeah, this is what's wrong with me. Never once. That's not how the body speaks. That's another agenda. So when those schools of thought, belief systems, ideas get planted into the human collective and individual consciousness, the human will, through their own unconsciousness, begin to manifest and create that in form. It's fascinating, but this is how it works. If you're tuned in to the quantum field, quantum physics, another area that you could look at is the book 2150. I don't get paid to promote this book. It was a book that came to me on my spiritual journey. It's part of our required reading. It's part of our core curriculum for the Sacred Spirituality Coach and Healer certification. But in this book, it was written in the 70s, really a brilliant channeled, downloaded story. It talks about mind nets, and that's a great way of describing what happens here on Earth and how, or this version of Earth, I should say, where thoughts and stories and ideas get implanted into the collective consciousness. Now, you have to be corded into wherever they're implanting it and dropping it. That's why we really encourage breaking away from the mainstream cult because that allows you to grow deeper in your connection to your higher self, your goddess self, and to the divine that exists all around you. So it's possible that menopause has simply been implanted into the human consciousness because check this out. I don't know why French, but a French physician discovered menopause in the 1800s. And what he discovered was that this reduction of hormone levels, this dropping in and dysregulation of hormones happened in both women and men, but only this happening to women was picked up in the collective and broadcast and promoted and shared and really been like, yeah, women are going to suffer. So then we have to look at like the whole program around menstruation being really painful and difficult and like, yeah, women have to suffer. And then after they're done suffering for decades, then they're going to suffer some more because their hormones are going to be out of whack. But what's actually true when you look at and when you work with men and women, now granted, my specialty is working with women, but I do also work with their partners and their beloveds, which are often men. I work with their children. So served a lot of boys over the years and supporting them. You see low testosterone, you see dysregulated hormone factors on all levels for both women and men. So, why was it just the female dysregulation that got picked up and promoted by our cult and was brought into the medical systems? And really, it's gained so much traction because the capacity to turn it into a money-making machine is definitely there. And also the capacity to really create more drama around this. So there's all different kinds of ways now that you can treat menopause. So we've got first this discovery in the 1800s that this was just something that was happening to women and men, but they decided, and if you look, this is all what's in the program in the Matrix, right? So I did some research to find out what was going on, and this is what they told me, but they can't even tell you why the decision was made not to share it, the low testosterone for men, and low testosterone in men will make men very aggressive and very angry. Interesting. And that's not broadcast, right? There's not a lot of talk. We've got huge rates of erectile dysfunction for men. I think over 40% of men. Now, some of that is what's happening with pornography. There's a karmic aspect of that. There's also entity attachments from pornography. There's all kinds of things happening there. So, some of that for men, the ED that's coming up in mass quantities, is linked to the energetics and the consciousness around pornography and the perpetuation of that distortion and that perversion. There's also all this hormone dysregulation that's happening for men that gets, instead of pathologized like it is for women, it's sort of like, oh yeah, he left his family and got the hot rod. Wasn't Isn't this the male midlife crisis? And a 20 something girlfriend, and that's just boys being boys. It's interesting. And even now with the ED, it's like give them a pill. We're not going to talk about the dysregulation in the male hormones that is happening just as much as it's happening with the dysregulation in the female hormones. And instead, for the female hormones, it all gets pathologized. It's all like this disease, this illness, and now there's all these treatments, and you can, spend tens of thousands of dollars treating yourself for this next, just like this curse, right? What do some women call menstruation? They call it a curse. And it's interesting, right? It's all very, very interesting. So, over the course of me working with women and then in my own personal journey, I've been experimenting with this. What would happen? So, now we're going to look at the third piece. We've talked about the biological, natural component, interesting, mind net. We've talked about implanting this into the collective consciousness and humans just manifesting the symptoms because it's been implanted into their consciousness. It's not as talked about for men because it's not a big, it's boys will be boys. They're given sort of, as always, when you exist in a patriarchal culture or a patriarchal cult, what I call the negative agenda. There's going to be like propped up for the boys and like, oh, this is a terrible thing for the women, and the women just have to suffer until we can figure out a way to take money and life force energy from the women, and now we'll make it into a huge industry. Now we have to also look at, is it possible that menopause and also for men, menopause, is it possible that it is a result of high toxic load in the body? Is it possible that the dysregulation of the hormones is coming from the toxins in the food and the water, the EMFs, OMG? All you have to do is throw off a human's hormones and they're a wreck, right? What we're discovering, if you didn't know this previous, is that hormones are running your show for both men and women. Again, the program in the matrix is this is only women. This is exactly the same for men. We are not as different as maybe the matrix would like us to believe that we are. So, is it possible that what you're seeing at 40s and 50s, although, they're really trying to make some money off of the 30s and the late 30s by saying this, often starts there. Is it possible that what we're seeing is high toxic load and the body responding to that toxic load? Because in experiments on myself and on my clients, when women adopted a detox lifestyle. So they started eating clean. Cracked cell chlorella was part of their diet. Biomedic was part of their diet to cleanse out the glyphosate poisoning. They're eating all organic. They're eating high vibrational. They're not eating other mammals. They're reducing the fear, the toxicity in their body. And when they combine that with dry brushing, so stimulating the lymph, I had clients everywhere from their 40s to their 60s starting to menstruate again. This really got me curious. If everyone started moving their lymph through dry brushing, which what does lymph do? It removes waste products and toxins from the body. And if you cleanse out the toxins from the body and you're eating and living a detox lifestyle, so you're aware of the poisoning, you're wearing shungite, you're not using fragrances in your detergents, you're using non-toxic cleaners, detergents, dishwashing, you upgrade every area of your life to non-toxic. Could you menstruate to the end of your incarnation? Do you need to menstruate every month? This is also something I played with when working with women and with myself and talking with the womb and finding out what is this like monthly curse. Then women are told it's tied to the moon, and what is the moon anyway? Do we want to go down that rabbit hole? What I have found as a practitioner, as a skilled practitioner for over 16 years, is that the body doesn't necessarily agree that it needs to menstruate every month or that it is synced with the moon. Again, we just have to have these concepts planted into the consciousness, and the humans will self actualize it, they will self manifest it. So if you didn't believe that you had to have a menstrual cycle every 30 days, would you? And if you instead adopted a detox lifestyle with regular dry brushing, how often would your body need to bleed? By the way, menstruation is a natural detox response, but does it have to happen every 30 days, especially if you're detoxing as a lifestyle? So you're not just leaving it all up to one area of your body to tackle. I want you to just play with this because, again, if it's true, and you can just start to look around and notice if it's true that all it takes is implanting a disease archetype, a disease, um, all of the symptoms and the pathology of the disease and how long it lasts and all these things, if that's all it takes for unconscious humans to start manifesting it in their experience, and I promise you it's true. Check out 2150, play with it in your own life and in your own reality. Just watch. Just watch what's happening in the collective consciousness. You are a creator. The artificial matrix doesn't want you to know this, but you are a creator and you are here to create and you will create and you will experience what you believe to be true. That's why I've said over the years that Western medicine could be akin to modern day witchcraft in terms of diagnosing and telling humans what's wrong with them, how long it will last, and what that means. If the human believes it, they can manifest it in their experience. Now, the body, this is a very deep conversation, right? Because the body does communicate with us, and the body will let us know when things are out of alignment, and it will give us symptoms and it will give us communication that lets us know, like, hey, you should look at this. There's something going on here. But the need to come in and group it in and label it and then give it a timeline and then say whether it's curable or not curable, everything is curable. Everything is curable unless it's the thing that you have decided is going to be the thing that you use to leave your body in this incarnation. But if you're not told that, and if you don't have access to that information, what will you create? So, this conversation about menopause opens up something so much bigger for us, right? Because if we apply this to menopause, then we sort of have to apply it to every labeled dis-ease. My whole point in bringing this to you, and the reason I was guided to bring it to you, is because we just want you to start to think differently about these labels and about these trends. And we're not saying that there's anything wrong with anyone making money off of anything that's happening. And we want you to be as empowered as possible so that if you are going to be spending your divine stewarding of the abundance you've been given on these different treatments, that you really have taken the time to tune into your own body, tune into your womb, talk to her, ask her if she needs to menstruate every month, or if she'd like to menstruate once every 3 months, or once every 6 months, or once a year, or once every couple years. It's a natural detox response that the body has. But what if it wasn't true that it had to be painful and that it is painful because of toxins in the environment and toxins in our consciousness and toxins in our emotions and toxic thoughts being released into the mind net of the mainstream cult? What if that was possible? This discovery in the 1800s of menopause is interesting because it wasn't just for women, it was for women and men. But is that true? Is there more there for us that wants to be uncovered? And in that uncovering, what's possible for you? So we want to again invite you into this and just play with the possibility. Maybe this menopause thing is not a natural biological response. Maybe there is a greater wisdom that is operating within you. And maybe it doesn't have to go the way you've been told that it will go. Maybe there's a whole new way to show up for your body, your divine temple. You can play with, is this a detox response? And you can start dry brushing and adopting a detox lifestyle. You can start playing with it and just see what you notice. I will say for the women that I was treating in this 40 to 60, actually, I think we had up to 70s, the women in their late 60s and 70s were like, well, I don't want to menstruate. So, okay, you can make that adjustment, right? So then you could choose not, so they stop dry brushing. They're like, I don't want to activate this. You have the choice and you have more choice than you realize when it comes to your body and what feels good to you. And we want to place into this that it's different for everyone, meaning that some people's bodies will want to menstruate monthly. Some people's bodies won't. Some people's bodies will bleed until the day they make their transition. Some people won't. Some people will do certain detox protocols and their hormones come into alignment. It's really, really fascinating to work with your body in this more advanced way. And you get to start questioning the official narrative about the 1800s and the French physician. And he found it in both men and women, but chose to only promote it in women. And then there was this belief that women just had to suffer or struggle and be in pain and have all of their body systems out of alignment because that's just the way it was. We want to invite you into a greater state of empowerment that doesn't have you just reaching for what the mainstream cult tells you, also doesn't just have you reaching for the synthetic protocols that the mainstream cult tells you to use, but it gives you the opportunity to work with your body's innate wisdom, to work with the innate wisdom in food as medicine, to work with the innate wisdom of the earth, and then to make choices having all of the information because so often we're only given little pieces of information and we're in fear and we're not sure what to do and we don't feel great in our body, so we go ahead and we grab whatever's there. I want to invite you into a greater state of empowerment so that when you're making choices for your body, you are making choices where you've really had the opportunity to look at, is this really even natural? Is this something that is just being programmed into the human consciousness? Is this a result of being toxified, of a high level of toxic load in the body? Maybe it's a combination of some of those things for you or for someone else. So, this is your invitation to not just take what the mainstream cult tells you. This is your invitation to realize, like, if this is trending and they're making buku bucks off of it, maybe, maybe there's something more going on here. Oh, how amazing to be walking this path, to be able to see what more is going on here, and then to lovingly choose what most serves your highest destined path, your personal highest good, that is accessed through your deep and divine and personal relationship with your own sacred body, your own sacred vessel, and with the divine that lives within you and around you. Because what the artificial matrix doesn't want you to know is that you are an advanced being of the light, that you have superpowers, you have divine gifts, you have the capacity to create just from thinking and focusing and believing in something. And you create really powerfully when you're unconscious to what that is. So it'll go real fast if you're not aware. It is such a powerful time for you to be here. And we don't want anything left on the table. We don't want you struggling, trying to figure it out, not sure what's happening. There's this notion that there is this great mystery and these mysteries cannot be solved. And we want you to know you can solve every single mystery that you desire to solve. It will take effort, it will take determination, it will take persistence, but it is possible if you have the courage to lean in and ask and be shown the unknowable, unknowable in quotes, to be able to step into a greater level of your creator state of who you really are. And then menopause is this really fun unwinding, unpacking that you get to do to find out what's actually true for you, not what you've been told or programmed, but what's actually true for you. And then I would encourage you to take that into every diagnosis, every pathology, every label that you've given yourself or you've been given, and go, wait a second. There's something even more magical happening here than I have previously allowed myself to believe. This is an exciting time to be in a body. You wanted to be here for this because you wanted to have this kind of conversation with me and you wanted to realize that there's a totally different way to work with your body. There's a totally different way to work with your hormones. There's a totally different way to set yourself free from painful menstruation, from menopause, from all of these pieces that may not serve your highest good. And I am, at sort of how would I say this? I'm sort of nudging you here to play with the potential that it doesn't serve your highest timeline to be in pain and suffering, and it doesn't serve your highest timeline to have every symptom how to have a pathology subscribe to it, ascribe to it, and that there's something so much more that wants to be revealed to you. If you loved what I shared here, if you are feeling this and you just know, if everything inside of you is like, yes, this, I knew it. I've been having these conversations. I know this is true for me. And if you would like support untangling from those packages of belief systems, from those wounds that your body might be carrying in your womb and different areas of your body, it might be karmic for you, it might be ancestral, it might be something you picked up from one of your sexual partners or something you picked up from a caregiver, whatever it might be, if you're ready to be set free at the next level, if you're ready to experience a different kind of reality in your physical body, temple, and in your physical reality, check out our higher self unification sessions. We are leading those with Goddess Mary Magdalene. Yeshua the Christ holds the sacred container. Source beams down upon us, and all of the highest light is with us as we restore you to your original template, to who you truly are, so that you may be free, so that you may create ever more intentionally and powerfully in your life. You can find out more at the link below here. Go to sacred-spirituality.org and you can click on our offerings and check out our higher self unification sessions if this is really landing for you. If you're a healer and you know you're a healer, whether you're actively working full time as a healer or that is your desire, be sure to check out our spiritual healing certification and training, where you have an incredible curriculum that includes leading edge, out of print, incredible books like 2150, and also gives you and trains you in a healing modality that you can use to transform your own consciousness and the consciousness of those that you are here to serve. As always, thank you so much for listening, watching, and being here with us. You can receive free meditations, transmissions, and more at sacred-spirituality.org. We've got some big announcements coming and all kinds of incredibleness coming for you in this time of great expansion. So stay tuned for that. Make sure you're in our swirl so you'll be the first to hear about it. And I look forward to all the ways that we get to share together and go higher and deeper so that you and I can live more and more fully as our higher selves, our goddess selves in form on earth during this tremendous time and consciousness. Always question everything you're being told, including what we've shared with you here. Always question what you see happening in the mainstream cult. Don't take any of it at face value, and you will do very, very well. All right, my loves, thank you for listening in. This has been Awakening the Podcast. And as always, I'm your host, Dr. Heather Christian Strang. Be well. So much love.